Ladies and gentlemen, we'll get started here in just a moment. We have a few more classes, I think, that are coming down, and we'll get moving. If I could get all members of the radio club to come up front, please, at this time. All members of the radio club, come up front at this time. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning and welcome to Council Rock High School South and to our ARISS contact with the astronauts on board the International Space Station. Really excited to have everybody here today. Thank you for coming. And I look forward to a successful contact with the astronaut on board. Before we get started with our assembly today, I wanted to just go over a few things and send a few reminders out to everybody that's attending. First, to the students. The actual contact should take place beginning at around 8:43. The astronaut that we're going to be talking to, we will only be able to talk to him as he's flying over our building when he comes above the horizon until he sets below the other horizon. So when that happens at 8:43, that's right between the changing classes. So you'll want to stay here. Don't leave at the end of period 1. You stay here. You'll be going about 15 minutes into period 2, and at that point, at the conclusion of the assembly, you'll be able to go on to period 2. So please keep that in mind. Just stay seated during the change of classes. And then to all guests, like I said, the contact's going to begin at about approximately 8:43 this morning, and you'll hear us talking and calling to the astronaut until he answers back, and then we'll be asking our questions. During that time, it's real important so that everybody can hear the questions, hear the responses from the astronaut. If we could keep it as quiet as possible, that would be great. So with that being said, we'll get started. And I have just a little introduction here to start the day off with.
And it is one of the great adventures of all time. Its conquest deserves the best of all mankind. For we meet in an hour of change, in a decade of hope, in an age of knowledge. Even though I realize that this is, in some measure, an act of faith and vision, for we do not now know what benefits await us. But if I were to say, my fellow citizens, that we shall send to the moon, 240,000 miles away, a giant rocket carrying all the equipment needed for survival on an untried mission to an unknown celestial body, and then return it safely to Earth, re-entering the atmosphere at speeds of over 25,000 miles per hour, and do all this and do it right before this decade is out, then we must be bold. The The exploration of space will go ahead, and it is one of the great adventures of all time.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
For the eyes of the world now look into space, to the moon, and to the planets beyond. We set sail on this new sea because there is new knowledge to be gained. But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. The exploration of space will go ahead, and it is one of the great adventures of all time.
Excited. How can you not get excited about space flight? About seeing that video and thinking that today we're going to be talking to an astronaut on board the International Space Station, flying 200 miles above our building, traveling at 17,000 miles per hour. It's an incredible feat that we're going to do today. These radios, the students and the technical advisors that you see here, they're going to be tracking that on top of our roof. We have an antenna. It's called a Yagi antenna, and you can see it over there on the video to the right. We have a drone up there you can watch that antenna as it tracks the International Space Station across our sky, and our students up on board, up on stage here are going to be talking to them. So exciting. And how can you not get excited about space, especially in the age that we're in now, where we're looking to go back to the moon and eventually to Mars? My name is Jerry Fetter. I'm a science teacher here at Council Rock South. I teach astronomy and biology, and I run the Amateur Radio Club. I'm the advisor for the Amateur Radio Club. The students that you see on stage here, and a couple still out in the audience with these blue t-shirts, are all members of our radio club. It's a very large club. In fact, we have probably close to about 70 members in our club this year. These students work with ham radio equipment. The ham radio equipment is the amateur radio equipment that you see on stage here. They learn about radio technology, problem solving, teamwork. And what this club does is it integrates our various curriculums into the projects that we do. And we'll talk a little bit more about that today. We integrate English, geography, science, technology, and mathematics, and even photography. This is not an easy task, contacting the International Space Station. It's a large undertaking. This team of students, this club, we call them the ARISS team. ARISS stands for Amateur Radio on the International Space Station. It's a project run through the Amateur Radio Relay League. And when we developed this team of students, we decided that we wanted to not just get students that are science-oriented students, but we wanted to involve students that had all different interests. Some students are going into fields of English and marketing. Other students might be going into computer technology. And other students, of course, into science and engineering. So we wanted to really create a way that everybody could get involved. So in order to do that, we broke our club into our ARISS team into 3 different teams. One was the engineering team, the other was a marketing team, and the other was a website development team. And all these students that you see up here on stage today, and a few that are still working out in the audience here, the amount of time and effort that they put in to getting where we are today is just so impressive. I have to say, this is almost 30 years of teaching for me, and these students right here and right over here made the highlight of my career. And I don't say that, take that lightly, I mean that. When you see what they did, it's a reminder of what these students are capable of. I want to introduce you to one of those special students, Miss Taylor Arnosky. Taylor came to me earlier this year and she said, hey, I want to get involved in the radio club. Talk about a motivated student. She's a freshman. The next day, she came in and she said, okay, so here's what I did. I contacted the news media, I contacted local community members, I contacted all these different people, and I was like, we didn't even start yet. Just so impressive. She is one of the leaders of this club this year, and again, as a freshman, I can't tell you how impressive I am. She's self-motivated, she's intelligent, and these are the kind of qualities, she's kind, these are the kind of qualities that are gonna take her far in life. So without further delay, Taylor Arnosky.
Hi everyone, and my name is Taylor Arnosky, and I'm a freshman here at Council Rock South, and I'm one of the leaders of the radio club. And I just wanted to share a personal story about my experiences with this year's radio club. When I first heard of the radio club, the first thing that came to mind was like radio broadcasting, like the kind you see on TV. I had no idea what amateur radio was when I first joined this club, and I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I knew nothing about amateur radio or how to communicate with other people professionally, or even how to write a press release. And even after months of practicing being on the air, operating radios, writing multiple press releases, and even an article for QST magazine, I still sometimes get lost, confused, and need some extra help. But I stand up here in front of all of you today to show how much this club has really taught and changed me for the better. I've met so many new and different amazing people because of this club. I've got to learn and explore a totally different new and field of science and technology that I was never exposed to before. And most importantly, I learned something new about myself, my passion. Being able to experience and learn about something completely new has changed my whole perspective on life. I learned how to go into something new with an optimistic mindset and know that I would face failure. Now, failure is not a bad thing, and that's where everyone goes wrong. Failing is a natural part of life, and if you don't fail at something at least once a day, then are you really learning something new? Are you really growing as a human being and as a person? And with my optimistic mindset and learning from my mistakes, I was able to keep pursuing my goals. Now, as I prepare for my next goal, which is taking the test to achieve an amateur radio license in a technician's class, I know to take on my challenges head first and face failure with a positive attitude. I know that amateur radio will carry me throughout my life and in my career. I just wanted to thank Mr. Fetter Alba, Matt, Artur, all the technical advisors, and all of the other students in this club. Thank you for making this year the best possible year I could ever imagine. Working together on this project with all of you has been a blast. And to everyone else watching, thank you for joining us for this out-of-this-world experience. Go. So my job as the marketing team leader, our job was to reach out to the media, the community, and as well as to write several different things. The first thing that we wrote was we wrote several different press releases. And we work with Council Rock School District Public Relations Coordinator, Mrs. Mangold, and she taught us how to write press releases, but also to effectively send them out to the media. Sorry. Another thing that we wrote was an article for QSD Magazine, which I'll explain in the next slide. And another special message we received was from Timothy DeFore, and he's Pennsylvania's Auditor General. So QSD Magazine is the publication for the ARRL. And we wrote this article back in February, and it was about the history of our club and how it has grown over the years. And we did this by splitting ourselves up into 4 different teams of 2 to 4 students. So on team 1, we had Riley McDonough, Aaron Yang, Enzi Chen, and Ayad Tufel. And their job was to interview teachers that are involved in this club and talk about how this club has impacted them. In our second team, Arthur Kiss, Rachel Kaplan, and Dale Dye, they interviewed one of our technical advisors, Andrew Vavra, to talk about his contributions to this club over the years. And in our third team, Aubrey Lewis, Hannah Erickson, and Gianna St. Thomas, they interviewed students that are currently in this club or have been in the club in the past. And they talked about how amateur radio has benefited them. And in our last team, the fourth team, was just me and Alba, and we were responsible for writing the introduction and the conclusion paragraph of the article. And we also worked with Andrew Vavra and some of our English teachers to help format and edit the article so it's all good. And as you can see in these photos up here, we also took up mock-up photos because we entered to potentially be on the cover of the magazine that we wrote the article for.
Fourth, Pennsylvania Auditor General. And it's unbelievable that Council Rock students get to talk to astronauts on the International Space Station. What an unbelievable experience. What you've learned through communications, electronics, and marketing is setting you up for a lifetime of success in your future. You should be proud of what you're doing to make this event such a success. I'm excited to see what's next in your school and the young leaders that you will become. Good luck today.
So that was Pennsylvania's Auditor General, Timothy DeFore, and he was so kindly to send us a congratulations message to Council Rock South's Amateur Radio Club because we're talking to the astronauts. And on this slide talks about our website team. So our website was originally created back in 2018, 2019 by Matt Floyd, and he made the website for our previous contact. But this year, we had Arthur Kiss, and he really took charge and took over the website, and he designed it. So in here you can see that we have a countdown, And if you go up to the live streaming at the top, then you can see the link to our live stream. You can also read about our history of the club, the different teams. You can look at photos, some videos from the previous contacts, and that's our website. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Taylor. Like I said, what an impressive young lady. And some of the slides that you've been seeing as we've been going through and that we're opening up show some of the things that our club did this year. And Taylor talked about two of the teams, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the third team, which is the engineering team. The engineering team not only encompassed all the students that were science-oriented, that want to go into fields of science, mathematics, engineering, but it really kind of brought everybody together. Everybody really played a part with the engineering team. If you look here, this is a room. It's a little cinder block room that's up above this auditorium. And we spent many a days after school crammed into that little room. You could see our group of students working with Mr. Irwin Derrick, who was teaching them a little bit about radio technology. This is where we hooked up our equipment, tested all of our equipment. In this case, Mr. Derrick was going over how to hook up the radios, how to wire the radios, and all these students here, they do that. One of the things that makes us unique with the ARISS program is that with the help of these technical advisors, which are professionals that I'm going to talk about here in a moment, these students really learned how to do everything. And that's one of the unique things I think about Council Rock and our involvement with the ARISS program, is that what's going to happen today and what got us to this place today was entirely done by all of these students. And so you can see in the background there, the white-haired guy in the back there, that's Mr. Andy Vavra, another one of our technical advisors, working with the students on the radio technology that day. Okay. One of the things that we did was we constructed an HF antenna. HF stands for high frequency. And that's what you see here. You can see Hannah, one of our club members on the left there, putting together an antenna. Eddie right here putting up what you see on the bottom of that antenna. And these students could tell you all about this at this point because they learned about this through the process of it. But those little radials that are sticking out are a false ground for roof-mounted antennas. And then we got that HF antenna together, we put it up, and we erected it to make some contacts. This was all done under the supervision of Bill Ballantyne, one of our technical advisors. Bill is real involved with HF radio and the antenna construction, and he kind of took the lead on the antenna construction for the HF. Okay. Here again, you can see Leah and Hannah working. One of the things that the students learned how to do, and you can see Hannah on the left-hand side there, she is learning how to solder. So she was soldering ends on what looks like a control cable, and then she would be connecting that to the controllers, which is one of these instruments that you see up here on the desk. And again, Mr. Vavra working with Leah, putting up the HF antenna. Here you can see one of our technical advisors, Joe Horanzi, working with Faith. Looks like that is an antenna cable that they're learning how to put the ends on and do all of the soldering that's involved with that. Mr. Derrick here working with students. Looks like they're working on one of the power supplies, probably that one that's sitting right there. And Again, teaching them how to put quick disconnects on the back of that power supply so that we could use different power supplies and switch over to different radios if needed. And then again, Mr. Vavra. Mr. Vavra was, is working with the, that's one of our HF radios. That radio right there is probably hooked up to, or no, I'm sorry, yeah, that's an HF and a UHF radio. That's actually the radio, the big radio that you see over here. And just going over testing the radio in that room that we worked on. Again, more of work going on. This is Mr. Shanblatt, Mike Shanblatt. Again, it looks like he's working on fixing the cables and getting all the cables worked up. Guys, one of the things that we did was we had to reinstall all of our cables in our network, so it was a huge job, and the students, they were the ones that did it with the help of these technical advisors, and learned some skills, you know, that were needed to accomplish the task, and I think that will help them in the future. And there was also some class instruction. Here you can see Mr. Derrick, and he is teaching the students about a schematic diagram, really kind of explaining to them how is it that 200 miles above, traveling at 17,500 miles per hour, we're going to radio up and be able to talk to somebody that's moving that fast and that far away. How's that signal going to come from the space station to our antenna and then get from the antenna to the radio? And then when we transmit back to the astronaut, how's it going to get from the radio to the antenna and then back to the astronaut? And I will tell you, these students up here, they can explain that to you. When you look at what's in the background on that chalkboard, if you could flip to the next slide. Many of us probably can't explain that, but I think these students up here probably can. And that's a schematic that Mr. Derrick taught the students about and how we're actually making the contact. So when we erected that HF antenna, we were part of something called the ARRL School Roundup. The School Roundup is a competition amongst different schools throughout the country and even the world that compete, and they try to contact each other and talk with each other. And then you log those contacts, and you see how many contacts you can make in a certain amount of time. So the ARRL put this school club roundup together, and it took place during 1 week, and we participated in it for 2 days. We wanted to do this because what it did was it gave the students an opportunity to get on the radio, get used to talking on the radio, and to help them prepare for today's event. The excitement that I saw in these kids afterwards was just unbelievable. It really was unbelievable. If you want to go to the next slide. As we went through making our contacts, you could see that there's one person talking on the radio and there's another person sitting at a computer. We had students sign up in groups of 2, where one was the radio operator and the other one was the logger. So on the computer, they're logging our contact, getting the call sign of the other school, and getting that down so that we knew who we contacted. We contacted schools all over the country and even all over the world. We contacted some schools in Italy, Spain, Portugal, Canada. I think we got one in Mexico, and many all over the United States. After one would be the radio operator, the other one would be the logger, they would switch. So everybody got an opportunity to do both. And like I said, the excitement that I saw in the students was just incredible. And one of them stood out to me, and I couldn't help but share that video with all of you. Aaron Yang, if you could go to the next slide. Aaron Yang, who is the student there on the left.
Juliet, November, Delta.
Kilo Charlie 3, Juliet, November, Delta, go ahead.
So, Kilo Charlie 3, please copy. Please copy. Kilo Charlie 3, Juliet, November, Delta. We are class S, Pennsylvania. Council Rock High School. Council Rock High School.
We are a school club, QSL.
Yes, QSL, say you're also a high school club. He doubled with you.
Roger.
Roger. So we are class
Can I get the state signal report and your name, please?
We are 5'9". 5'9". We are in Class S of
We are
Pennsylvania.
Class S of
We
Pennsylvania.
are high school.
We are high school.
And my name is?
And my name is Aaron Yang.
Aaron.
Roger. Yeah, on that last go around, you're 5'9 plus. 5'9 plus. We are also a school. This is Mississippi State University.
You're also 5'9 plus. You're also 5'9 plus.
I'm also 5'9".
You are also 5'9 plus.
Roger. Thank you for coming back to us and good luck out there.
Okay, so Aaron was pretty excited, and if I hope that you can hear okay. It's hard for me to tell with the echo up here on stage, but the contact that he made that time was with Mississippi State University, and on that particular contact. But that was really such a great event, and the students, I really saw them get inspired by being able to make those contacts and get used to talking a little bit on the radio. Aaron now is even much better on the radio, and actually, I'm sorry, he's over here. And so that was his first time talking on the radio and making a contact. So thank you, Aaron. So that being said, I want to reach out and I want to recognize a few people that have helped us get to this point. First, okay, you're on it. First, I'd like to thank our principal, Mr. John Raddick. Mr. Raddick has been there to support us in this program and preparing for this ARISS contact. And also, prior to Mr. Last year was when we started the application for this, and Mr. Funk showed us all the support that we needed during that time as well. Ms. Gormley is the assistant principal here in charge of clubs, and she's been there with us the whole way and supported us and helped us along the way with anything that we needed. Some of the teachers that have been involved with this program in getting us to where we are, Mr. Warwick, Mr. Joe Warwick, Mr. Jeff Wormkessel, they've been such a huge amount of support, not only with helping us get to this point and working with the kids, but also being there when I couldn't be there. So I want to thank them very much for that. Mr. Warwick actually has the drone up on the roof for the video of our antenna up top there. So for those forward, before I go into the next one, stay at this slide, please. If I could get a round of applause for those people, please. Taylor, get that. Next person I want to talk about is Mr. Fred Kemmer. Mr. Kemmer was our technical mentor for the ARISS program. He also is a regional director for the ARRL, and he runs a club called the Nashua Radio Club out of Nashua, New Hampshire. Mr. Kemmer has been such a huge support for us. He's met with us every Wednesday with our technical advisors and our student leader team every Wednesday over Zoom meetings, putting some long nights in. He was our mentor for our last contact as well as for this contact. And Mr. Kemmer has been a great advisor for me as well. Him and the Nashua Amateur Radio Club were kind enough to offer classes for our students. Last year we had 10 students get licensed through Zoom, thanks to Mr. Kemmer and his club. And this year we're planning on getting some more students licensed as well. So Mr. Kemmer, if you could come up, please. That would be great. I see him right here. We have, not that one, the plaque. So, Mr. Kemmer, we have a little plaque to commemorate your involvement and your help. So thank you very much.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. You get the next one. Finally, the other ones that I want to thank are our student leaders. And you can see our student leaders that are up here. Matt Floyd. Matt, you could put your hand up. Taylor Arnowski. Alba Sinani. Artur Kiss. Artur is over here. He's a radio. This group of students couldn't have done it without them. Could not have done it without them. Under Matt's leadership as the president of the club, he's been with us for 4 years. He's a senior. He'll be going on to Valparaiso University after this year to join his sister Laura, who's there. And you might remember Laura from our last 2 contacts. She was a large part of creating this radio club and getting us to where we are today. The other 3, Artur, Alba, and Taylor, are all freshmen, and they're the future of our radio club. They really are the future of our radio club, and with the ARISS program, what I hope to do with this radio club and with these 3 students leading us on is to be able to take this program to other schools, to get more people involved, to get other schools involved so they can experience the things that we're experiencing here at Council Rock. So that's kind of our goal for the radio club as we move forward. And finally, last but not least, I'd like to thank all of the members of this radio club because, like I told you at the beginning of this presentation, the amount of work and dedication and time that these students have put in has really, I mean, it's had such a big impact on me, and I hope it's had a big impact on them. And I'm really, really, really proud of them. So thank you all. And now for the part I was really looking forward to. I want to thank our technical mentors. We have 5 technical mentors that have been there with us all throughout this. And these guys, I can't tell you how much time they put in. Andy Vavra, Bill Ballantyne, Erwin Derrick, Joe Horanzi, Mike Shanblatt. These guys, you know, some of them live an hour and a half away, and they would be coming down here twice a week to meet for hours after school with our students and with me to help them with all of this. So I wanted to get them something that they could remember this by. And Mr. Vavra, I want to start with him. Andy Vavra is one of their technical mentors. And Andy couldn't be here with us today. Unfortunately, he had a planned vacation. So he's down in North Carolina, I believe. And, but I want to just talk a little bit about Andy Vavra. Andy Vavra, I referred to him as the puppet master. He was the guy that really kind of kept us on track, kept us scheduled. He was organizing our meetings, when we were doing different things, working with the students. And that's his background. He was a marketing and personnel manager, and he was real good at that, and he also is a great engineer and radio operator. So Andy, I want you to know, I hope you're listening out there, and I want you to know we miss you. I look forward to you coming back, and I got something for you when you get back here. Mr. Bill Ballantyne. Mr. Bill Ballantyne is, like I said, he was involved with helping us with our HF contacts and our HF antenna. Mr. Ballantyne has a background in team management, and he worked a lot with, what was it called, Mr. Ballantyne? Yes, a lot with HR and the different training of teamwork. So he brought that background to our team. Mr. Derrick was, who's sitting right here. Erwin, he was our software specialist. He worked with the computers and hooking the computers up with the radios and teaching the students how to do all of that, how to operate the radios and the software. Mr. Joe Horanzi is a current engineer with Infineon Technologies, and he's an engineer that is an expert in different types of circuits and electronics and antenna design and antenna testing. Mr. Horanzi was here, worked with students on tuning our antennas, and kind of had his hands in a little bit of everything with the antennas and the radios. And then Mr. Mike Shanblatt, who is a retired professor from Michigan State University. Mr. Shanblatt was really an integration specialist. He was an engineering professor at Michigan State, and he really kind of helped to oversee a little bit of everything that we did. So I wanted to get something for them that they could remember us by, and it's a little desk plaque that says, "You make a difference." Presented to, in this case, this is Joe Horanzi's AA3JH, which is his call sign from the students of Council Rock High School South Radio Club 2023 ARISS Contact. And thank you all for everything, guys. Okay. All right. So finally, and we're getting close to our contact. We're gonna stop here shortly, and we're gonna start making some calls to see when we can contact the astronaut. And I'm thinking the time's 8:38. 8:38. Okay. So at 8:38, we're gonna start making some calls to see if maybe we can bend around the Earth and get a hold of the astronaut before he comes over the horizon. So that you know what's going to happen, we're going to be talking with amateur radio, and the ARISS program is the program that I was talking about. The ARISS program works with NASA to schedule this event with the astronauts. The astronauts they know that we are going to be talking with them. They tune into a particular frequency that we're talking on. You can go ahead and flip. And one more. So this is the antenna that you're going to see on the screen over here. This is called a Yagi antenna. It's hooked up to a motor on the top. That's the HF antenna. As the space station flies over, that's going to point at the astronaut and send a signal to him. Okay. And there you can see more of it. It's actually that antenna on the right is the one that we're using. The one on the left is a little bit different set of frequencies. Okay. So ham radio, a lot of people always ask what's ham stand for? It doesn't stand for anything. Ham is, there's a bunch of stories out there, nobody's quite sure, but they think that ham got its original start through the Harvard Amateur Radio Club, whose call sign was something with ham, and others think that it was just a term that professionals called amateurs, hams, and it just kind of stayed with us. So we're going to be operating on those UHF, VHF radio frequencies that you see down below. And it's interesting, when you look at ham radio, we have to be licensed in order to do this. The license is an FCC license. If you can go to the next one. The license is an FCC license. And when you look at the crew that's on the International Space Station, this is the crew that's on the International Space Station. There's a number of different countries represented here, including Russia, the United States, and Israel. And there are three of those gentlemen that are up there are American astronauts. The first one all the way on the left is Frank Rubio. And unfortunately, we won't be able to talk to him because he doesn't have his amateur radio license. So you could be an astronaut, but you can't use the radio up there unless you have your amateur radio license. The one in the very middle, the tallest one in the group there, is Woody Hoberg. Woody Hoberg does have his amateur radio license, and Woody is not the astronaut that we're probably going to be talking to. We'll be talking to the one right next to him. That is Stephen Bowen. Stephen Bowen is the commander of the SpaceX crew mission that took the American astronauts up there. This expedition on the International Space Station is Expedition 69, and Steve Bowen's the gentleman that we're going to talk to. If you can go to the next slide. Just a little bit about Woody Hoberg. I figured we would talk about the astronauts that have their licenses, just in case we talk to Woody. Woody was in the 2017 astronaut class. He's a graduate of Massachusetts Institute of Technology with a degree in aeronautics and astronautics. He also got his graduate degree from the University of California at Berkeley and in engineering and computer science. And he is an instrument-rated pilot. He was launched to the space station and arrived on March 3rd of this year. Okay. Here's the astronaut that we're going to be speaking with, Stephen Bowen. Stephen Bowen has a unique past. He's the first submarine naval officer to be selected as an astronaut with NASA. He has flown on 3 previous missions, and when you see those missions, STS-126, 132, and 133, STS is the fancy name that NASA gives for the space shuttle. It actually stands for Space Transportation System. So he was on 3 flights of the space shuttle, and those flights were to construct the actual International Space Station that he's going to be going, that he's on right now. He also was launched with the SpaceX Crew Dragon, SpaceX Crew 6. He was the commander of that crew and is the commander of that crew on the space station, and also arrived on March 3rd. So let's meet Stephen Bowen. Go back and just click his name.
As human beings, we do as teams. My name is Steve Bowen. I am the spacecraft commander of NASA's SpaceX Crew 6 mission to the International Space Station. I was born in Cohasset, Massachusetts. It's a small town on the coast just south of Boston. I had 5 brothers and sisters. I was the 5th of 6, and it was really sort of an idyllic childhood. When I was getting ready to choose, where applying for colleges, I had the good enough grades, and I got an appointment to the U.S. Naval Academy, so I studied electrical engineering. I'd done a summer cruise, and the reason I ended up doing the summer cruise on submarines was because the ideas interested me. The whole concept of running a nuclear power plant underwater and operating at sea. And so after graduation, I spent 14 years in the submarine force before I applied to become an astronaut. I never had, grand plans of growing up and becoming an astronaut, but I never did anything to preclude that either, based on how I managed to get here. It was just curiosity and enthusiasm. I remember on STS-132, I think it was on my first spacewalk on that mission, and there I was overlooking the International Space Station as we're circling the Earth. The whole world spread out below me. And all I could think of is, what kind of civilization is this? I grew up carrying buckets of cement, and here I am on top of the International Space Station circling the Earth as we're doing research, really to make the world a better place. And we're doing it as a team. We're doing it as an international team. It was eye-opening. I mean, it's not something I didn't necessarily understand, but it really becomes obvious in a moment like that. And that was absolutely amazing to me. I view myself really as a rookie for the International Space Station because I was always there basically as a construction worker. This time I'm actually getting the opportunity to operate and to be a part of the science and be a part of the ISS operations. That's all new to me, and I'm really looking forward to being a part of all of that. And hopefully my bit of spaceflight experience that I've brought along with me, I can help everybody else settle in and step into these operations. I have a most amazing crew. I'll say this for all 3 of my crew members because they're actually all pretty amazing individuals. They each have distinct personalities that add so much to the crew. That ability to function as a group is absolutely amazing. And when you accomplish something as a team, there is no greater feeling.
So that's the astronaut that we'll probably be talking to today, Stephen Bowen. And if you go to the next slide. In this next video clip is going to just kind of give you an idea of what the International Space Station is all about. If you could hit that first one, Jaden.
The International Space Station is a state-of-the-art microgravity laboratory that is unlocking discoveries not possible on Earth and helping us push farther into deep space.
Every single day, we are answering big questions about Earth and about space, about where we came from and about where we're going. But the other thing that we're doing is we're learning more questions to ask.
Microgravity turns almost everything we know upside down. Liquids behave completely differently. Fire burns in new ways. Biological systems reveal surprises.
There's a few things that have made me gasp out loud up on board Space Station. Watching heart cells actually beat has been a pretty big one.
We're studying ways to grow food in microgravity.
I got to tell you, these are pretty amazing.
We're learning how human bodies react to life in space and how to keep crew members safe and strong on long-duration exploration missions.
Deadlifts are awesome on Earth. They're also awesome in zero gravity.
We're testing technologies that will be critical to our return to the moon and great leap to Mars. Our research has contributed to medical and social benefits on our home planet, allowing us to find new ways to combat disease back on Earth and develop technologies to deliver clean water to remote communities in need. The spectacular vantage point of more than 200 miles above our planet supports our monitoring of Earth's climate, natural disasters, and plant life.
I can't begin to describe some of the sights that you get to see. It's just an incredible view of our planet that we have from here.
The growing new space economy, so vital to our continued progress in space, is flourishing in low Earth orbit. We're inspiring future generations from a platform that is one of the largest international collaborations of our time. We're doing science at 17,500 miles per hour. Come along for the ride.
All right, Jaden, we're going to get ready for this this contact. If you could just hit that, not that one, the next one up. Go back to that other slide. There you go. The astronauts should be coming up over the horizon. The space station should be coming up over the horizon shortly. And we're going to start making a contact. Matt Floyd is going to get on, and he's going to be making the first call to the astronaut before we start our questions. What you see up here is a live view from the International Space Station looking down on Earth. So when we're talking to the astronaut, you're seeing what he's seeing. He'll be looking down on Pennsylvania. He just, our team here just told me that they just passed over Alaska, so they should be here any moment. We're all good to go with this? Guys, just so that while we're waiting here, I'll kind of explain what you see here. Like I said, that's a live image looking down from the International Space Station. Over here is the antenna that's on our roof. You'll see that antenna start to move as the space station flies over. So it's going to be moving and tracking very slowly across the sky, pointing at the space station as it goes over while our students are asking questions. And at the bottom, which you can't really see because of the heads, but at the bottom of the screen, lower right-hand side of the screen, is tracking, and that is the what you would see at like a mission control, and it shows where the space station's over right now, and it looks like right now they're coming across, their signal's coming just about across the Midwestern United States, so it should be over us in roughly about 2 minutes. Imagine that. Imagine it's in the Midwest and it's going to be here in 2 minutes. It's pretty incredible stuff. So one of the things that you're about to hear, we have about 2 minutes, one of the things that you're going to hear is you're going to hear Matt call NA1SS. NA1SS is the call sign of the International Space Station, and he's going to give our club call sign, which you see on this sign here, which is KC3JND. So he'll be calling, and then you might hear him slip his call sign in there, and the reason that he's going to slip his call sign in there is Matt is a licensed general class amateur radio operator, and if he uses his call sign, what he will get is a card from the International Space Station confirming that he made a contact with the International Space Station. Matt, we got 1 minute.
Kilo Charlie 3, Juliet November Delta, calling November Alpha 1, Sierra Sierra. November Alpha 1, Sugar Sugar, this is Kilo Charlie 3, Juliet November Delta. November Alpha 1, Sugar Sugar, this is Kilo Charlie 3, Juliet November Delta. November Alpha 1, Sugar Sugar, this is Kilo Charlie 3, Juliet November Delta. November Alpha 1, Sugar Sugar, this is Kilo Charlie 3, Juliet November Delta.
November Delta, November Alpha 1, Sierra Sierra on board the International Space Station, ready for questions.
Hello, this is Matthew, KC3 SFG. I'm going to hand you over to our first student for questions.
Hi, I'm Hannah. How does your companionship and cooperation on the ISS serve as a lesson for how to solve problems in society?
And Hannah, that's a good question in the sense that not only up here do we cooperate and get along and work together, but throughout the development of the International Space Station, the cooperation has led to some incredible engineering accomplishments that every single module here has fit together, whether it was built in Europe, in Italy, in Germany and Japan, all across the United States and in the and in Russia. So it's not just here on board, but throughout all of NASA. The cooperation internationally is absolutely amazing, and it is a great model.
Hi, my name is Faith. Are there skills that you have learned from acquiring your amateur radio license that have helped you as an astronaut?